Welcome. My name's Jan Vanderhoop, and I'm really excited to welcome Coach D, Darrell Andrews, to the call today.
Yes.
Darrell and I met initially about a year and a half ago at a conference, and the relationship has just got deeper and richer over the course of the last year and a half, as we've all lived through a number of things together.
Absolutely.
Coach D has done a lot of work over the course of his career in workforce development, but he's also done lots of programs, training, reinvention programs with people who've been unemployed, who've been between things, who are struggling to find their way in life.
Yes.
And it really is people from all walks of life, isn't it, Darrell, that you've worked with over the years?
Over the years, we've seen it from people who are impoverished to, executives of Fortune 500 companies that have lost their jobs. So we work with, as you alluded to, Jan, we work with a lot of people, and we've helped a lot of people, which that's the exciting part about it, to see people land employment and get back on their feet. Yeah.
So today we're going to be kicking off the first chapter of the first title that we're creating together. So the theme for the next couple of conversations is going to be all about reinvention.
Yes.
And for today, what you said you really wanted to focus on, Darrell, and I think it makes complete sense, is mindset, because that's the foundation of everything. And so maybe start with a personal example if you can, because I know, you're no stranger to having had to sort of rewrite your future, reinvent yourself, rebrand yourself over the course of your life. I certainly had to do the same. But I think it'd be helpful for people who are joining us today to get a sense of sort of what got you to where you are today.
Yeah, well, thank you for that, Jan. First of all, let me say it's a pleasure being, on this video with you, and I'm a big fan of the work that you're all doing there. The Jobtimize and the systems there are just phenomenal, and help people. You do what I do. I'm just helping people find employment, find meaningful employment, find good fits, reinvent, things of that nature. So thank you for allowing me to be a part of this. Today, we're going to talk about mindset, and we're going to really look at a few things. We're going to, and this is going to help a lot of people. It's going to help people if they can just really listen and hear what we're saying as it relates to where they possibly are right now if they lost their jobs. If you're unemployed and you're trying to figure everything out, it doesn't look like it's going to go back to normal. Am I going to get my job back? It's all of these different fears.
It's a scary place to be.
It's a scary place to be, and we understand that deeply. And so we're going to talk about mindset from three specific areas. We're going to talk about trauma, reaction, and then we're going to also talk about expectations. But let me start with the trauma piece for me personally. I was born and raised in the city of Syracuse, New York. A single mom, public welfare system, and so as a child, we experienced trauma in different ways. A lot of it was related to our experiences, things that were going on. And but something that shifted my life paradigm, and I think this is so appropriate for our conversation, was employment. There was an organization that worked with my mother who really had limited skills and limited education. They worked with her, helped her. And as a result of this help, she landed meaningful employment. She landed a job with a company by the name of US Air, which many people are familiar with, which became American Airlines, and which was recently, US Air was recently purchased by American Airlines. And that job, Jan, changed our lives forever and was really the foundational building block to the man I am today. Because seeing her work in that capacity, we had a chance as kids to travel all over the country because when your parent works for airlines, you travel for free. Yeah. So that was pretty neat. But we were able to go from the trauma of a challenged life to really the freedom and the beauty of what a good job can do for your life. So as a child, it was really employment that helped me to reshift my life's paradigm. Now, so yeah.
Can I pause you for just a second? Because there's something interesting in what you said that just occurred to me. I mean, when we think about work, we tend to think of it in the first person. I need to get a job. I need to provide. Yes. I need to whatever. I need to have stability and predictability in my life. But you're framing it through the eyes of a kid viewing it for their parent.
Beautiful.
Which is very different.
Yes.
And we sometimes lose sight of the ripple effect that our own employment can have on others around us.
When I do training, Jan, and I do training and coaching, I always start with introspective type things. I want people to see the bigger picture, even if they're, let's say, at an older age, because you got some seniors that have lost their jobs, well, what about your grandchildren? If it's not your children indirectly, what about your grandchildren? And sometimes it's when you can take your eyes off of yourself and see the bigger picture, that becomes motivational within itself. You know, I'm doing this not just for me, I'm doing it for my children, my grandchildren, those I love. That's why my mother did it.
Role
My,
modeling.
she knew she had these two boys who were watching her.
Mm.
And she knew that if the way that she went with this was going to be the way we would go. And so that motivated her to get up and go out and search every day when a lot of people in our community were not doing that. So yes, I agree with you. I didn't even think about it as I was saying it, but that is truly a different perspective when it's not just about me, but it's about the betterment of someone else's life as a result of my efforts.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I
so
sidetracked you. Go, let's get back on track with
yeah,
trauma.
you didn't sidetrack me. I think that's a great topic. So, but I just want to share one other thing too, just to let our audience know. I know where you are. You know, if you're hurting right now, if you're dealing with shock factor as a result of losing your job, I was just there. You know, now I'm self-employed, but there's still the employed part in self. I'm self-employed, which means I work like everybody else. And when this pandemic hit, I'm in the meetings business and I'm in the, people business and coaching and training. Well, back in February, late February, early March, I lost 90% of my business.
Mm.
Literally. You
Yeah.
know, the
we
meeting,
lost 60% of ours overnight.
you know, yes, you know what I'm talking about. So we lost we lost our conferences, we lost our keynote speeches, we lost our training programs, some of the coaching programs because people were pulling out because income was tight. So people pull out and say, I can't do this right now. And so I jokingly tell people I did the Netflix depression thing for about a week.
Yep.
Yeah, I got my popcorn and watched I did a few series. Then I said, well, wait a minute. I teach people how to reinvent themselves. Why don't I reinvent myself?
But that's interesting to hear because we would tend to look at you and say, no, the guy's just resilient as hell. But the fact is, we all go through the same cycle, right? Yes. We all go through the shock, the anger, the resentment, the fear, the sleepless nights, the shame.
Yep, we do.
And it's so what you're, I think, probably leading up to is that's the range of human emotions when stuff happens that we're not expecting or we're not prepared for.
People think,
but it's more how you navigate your way through it.
That's the key. That's what I want to talk about, because people think that when you do stuff like we do, we're kind of like these sages on the stage and we have no problems. And one thing that I think has always helped me to connect with people, I'm very real with them and I share my challenges with them, and so that's why I'm sharing this challenge, but what I did after that first week was I said, well, let me take my own principles and apply them. And so I looked at my bigger picture as far as what I do. And I asked myself, how could I bring value to the marketplace in this current marketplace, in the current state? What do I have in my tool chest to be able to do that? And that's when we started shifting towards virtual programs and shifting towards virtual coaching, consulting. We created some free stuff where we're putting out, very similar like what we're doing now. Just put it out there and let folks have a chance to engage in some good free content just to help. We were just trying to serve.
Right.
Just want to serve. And so as a result of making the shifts, position ourselves in the marketplace, within a 3-month period, we've gone from destitute to now I'm trying to figure out what my weeks, I got so much activity in my weeks look like, but that's because I reinvented. So what I want to share with the people today, Jan, I've lived through it recently. I'm not talking about years ago. We just recently lived through it. It was traumatic. I'm looking at my wife, my kids, my family. I got these, responsibility. So I feel when they said that whole saying, I feel your pain, I felt their pain because I was right there with them. Well,
and I think part of what got you to where you are now on the other side of that is the willingness to come from contribution. Yes. I think that's such a huge part, right? It's the willingness to give something of value with no conditions, no strings attached, in the hope that somebody else is going to benefit and appreciate it.
And you know what? One of my old mentors is Zig Ziglar. He said, his statement was simple. He would say, you get everything in life you want when you help other people get what they want. And Zig said that over and over and over again. So there's definitely value in contributing to society for the betterment of society, especially during tough times like this. But let me do a brief kind of go over briefly these 3 things that happens when a person loses their jobs. I mean, the first thing And keep in mind, we're talking about mindset. A good book I would suggest that people consider reading is a book by a lady by the name of Dr. Carol Dweck. The title of the book is Mindset, The New Psychology of Success, where she talks about growth mindset and fixed mindset. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it because I can do a whole course on this book, but I would suggest it because it would help with the growth mindset. Because what we're going to be talking about now is really, we're looking at the fears and realities of the times, and we know it is. We understand, and we have deep compassion for you. But the way you're going to make it out of this is the way you think through this process, and that's what we want to help with right now. So the first aspect here is trauma. And trauma, it really is what it is. When you hear the term, it really denotes what it says. It's trauma. It's traumatic, and trauma comes in many forms. If a person is in a car accident, they have the trauma of that accident,
Of course.
and it's pretty serious business. But trauma typically induces what we call the fight or flight syndrome. It's like something that's typically what comes out of trauma. We get the stress of it and we want to fight or flight. That's typically what we're looking to do. And so I want to give people a third option for trauma to think about this. And this is just what we're trying to accomplish here, Jan, with our work. That is to flee away. All right, flight, but flee away from the old mindset. All right, and fight for your future. That's a different kind of a fight.
Different context. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Flee away from the old mindset and fight for your future. So in essence, you're doing fight or flight, but you're using it to your advantage. You're not just using it. It's just not consuming you and eating you inside like sometimes trauma can do. You're actually taking the angst of the moment and turn it into a plus. Well, I'm going to use this time to fight for my future.
So help me with that. Deconstruct the whole mindset thing for me. I mean, when you talk about, drop the old parts of the old mindset that aren't serving you any longer.
Right. Yeah.
That's not my theory, but let's put a little meat on that bone for us.
Yeah. So mindset is a byproduct of a bunch of things. We talked about trauma, but it could be childhood experiences. It could be, paradigms I've developed over a lifetime, all these different things. And so, and I think I may have mentioned to you, I don't want to go too deep, but there's another component of mindset, and it's called brain set. And, and the brain set is where you start to take ownership of paradigms, correct or incorrect. A lot of times they're incorrect paradigms. And once you take ownership of them, you defend them. So let's say if you're a person that's lost a job and you say, there's no more jobs out here. Well, your brain set is wrapped itself around, you think there's no more jobs. So you shut down and you never even pursue.
And you make it true.
You make it true, And so when you think about mindset, there's all these things that's trying to pour into your head, that's trying to just help you to, not help you, but to get you to think a certain way about something, be it positive or negative. Like with Dr. Dweck's book, fixed mindset people are people, when situations happen, they lock into the situation and they normalize it. And like you said, that's just the way it is. That's the way we do things. But the growth mindset people say, we're going to find a way around it.
Right.
We're going to not let this obstacle shut us down. So that
means I have to be I have to be listening to my own thinking and questioning it.
I have to question. This may sound weird because people always say something's wrong with you when you do this, but you got to talk to yourself. You got to have a conversation with yourself. And here's the big thing you got to ask yourself, Jan, when it comes to mindset, why am I thinking this way? Why am I thinking this way? Why am I thinking in absolutes when nothing is really in absolutes? People find jobs, people build businesses, even after traumatic situations. What is it about them? Are they different than me? Or, so you got to question yourself. But here's the second part. You got to challenge yourself. You got to challenge yourself. And you also have to, this is important. I don't want to go too far off because I want to stay in our lane, but you got to surround yourself with people that can help you challenge yourself. A mastermind group, an accountability partner. And these are individuals who, they're not there to placate you. They're not there. They are there to tell you, listen, we're going on a journey together. And I need for you to hear what I'm saying as far as these things that are blocking you, because there's barriers in your thinking that's going to limit your ability. And we're here to help each other with that. So, so that's just with mindset. It's not easy to drop things. You got to put systems in place to challenge your thinking. And that's when you start to get on this beautiful journey to a new you, because that old stuff is starting to slowly shed off because you're challenging it. Am I making sense? Does that make sense to you what I'm talking
It's
about?
it's making sense, Darrell, and I'm wondering if we shouldn't think about ending here. I know we had more content that we wanted to cover in the first module, but we're
Mhm.
coming up to about the 15-minute mark,
Yeah.
and part of it was context setting and the introductions and all that stuff, and I
Mhm.
know that was an important part of this.
Yep.
But I think it would be so easy to sort of nod and step over what you just put in front of us.
Mhm.
But I
Yeah.
think what I'd really like is to create an opportunity for people to stop and reflect on it if they choose to. And so,
I
you know,
agree. I agree.
in the, in
Mm.
the materials that we're developing as a companion to these clips, we're going to be providing PDFs with sort of reflective questions that can get people thinking about their thinking.
Yep.
And I think this would be a great place to end off and allow people to really notice and
Mhm.
just stop and listen and notice the things
Mhm.
that we're telling ourselves in our head,
Yes.
and asking, just ticking a column to say, is this serving me well or is this not serving me well? And if it's
I'll
not serving me well, what should I do to reframe my thinking around that?
I'll say this as we wrap up this last session, this first session, which first of all, thank you again for allowing me to do this. And this is a great place to end. You're right, because and that's a great PDF, thinking about your thinking. That's really, because this applies to every aspect of life. Like, I'm a former athlete, and there was a times in my athletic career when I was a good athlete, and then there were times when I was a great athlete. I'll be honest with you, and that's not bragging about myself. It's just the reality of it. The times when I was the great athlete, where I was breaking records in the newspaper in my hometown, and doing things that were just kind of record setting and pace setting, it was all wrapped around the way that I was thinking, my mindset.
Hmm.
When I started to get to the point where I saw myself as an athlete is the best athlete, you know what I mean? The best in my field that I was in, and I started to do everything, my training, my weight training, my studies, and all of that around that level I was in. So it shows you again in life in general, even though we're talking about work, in life in general, mindset plays a role in the way that in the progressive thinking that your mind takes on because of who you now perceive yourself to be, in any particular given moment. So
Right.
I'm great. I agree with you. I think we need to stop here and just have pause and let folks think about that. But I just wanted to get that scenario. The way you think can determine the outcomes that you achieve.
The way you think always determines the outcomes you achieve.
Yeah.
And to your point, it's not passive thinking like, what am I going to have for lunch? It's
Mhm.
it's 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 the act of being deliberate in how you frame who you are, what's possible, what's going on around you, and what
Mhm.
your intention is to create.
That's it. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So there's
So,
there's an awful lot there. I think let's give people some time to unpack it and reflect on their think about their
yeah.
thinking, and and we'll come back again in a couple of days, and I'll look forward to the next conversation with you, Darrell. Thank you.
All right, then. So thank you. It's truly my pleasure.